Okay, great.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you all for having me come back.
Awesome to have you again.
Thank you.
Very cool. I will get you to just for the people that haven't met you or people that are listening, we'll just give a quick kind of bio about who you are and what you do, things like that.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Oh yeah, you're the best one. You're the best one to talk about you.
Oh my. Okay.
I'm not a real professional.
Okay, so I have to organize my thoughts. So I've been a practicing counselor, coach, and trainers for 35 years. And my work is centered around my understanding of consciousness and how the mind body works. And that is informed, those 34 years of practice are informed by about 55 years of Buddhist study and practice with many recognized masters. So I dropped out of college at the age of 20. It was the end of the sophomore year, somebody handed me a little brochure and said, I think you'd be interested in this. And it was about the first Zen Buddhist monastery opening that summer in America. 2 weeks later, I was there. So I started my study and practice with Shunryo Suzuki Roshi. His works are easily available online if you're interested. And when he passed away after 5 years, I went to study with a Tibetan master, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, again, easily available materials. But while I was with him, I got married and I had a bunch of kids. And so I had to have a real job, and I wasn't really happy with my real job. And I would start to have some regret that maybe if I'd have finished college, I'd have a degree and then maybe I could like do therapy or something like that. Because I thought, you have to do all that. And then one weekend I went to, this is 1980, I went to a weekend seminar on neurolinguistic programming, which is really just a packaging of certain aspects of hypnosis. It comes out of hypnotic understandings. And I was the only one there, of about 30 people, I was the only one there who wasn't a psychologist. And they were all being blown away by what was being presented. But for me, it was little bits and pieces of what I'd been learning in a much more comprehensive way in my Buddhist studies. So I stopped having a regret and thinking of myself as a college dropout. I didn't drop out of college. I transferred to the best college in the world. And so that made me realize I already had something to offer. But I didn't know how to offer it until I encountered hypnosis and NLP, because you don't need to spend 10 years getting a psychology degree to be able to do those things. So I reckon I can do these things. And so I started practicing in 1988 and teaching. I have 2 books, Finding True Magic, Transpersonal Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy, NLP, which is the textbook for my course. It's been out since the 90s. A lot of people call it the Bible of hypnotherapy. You can read about 50 interviews or testimonials about it on Amazon, if you want to get a sense of it. We have a new book, my wife and I, called The Outrageous Guide to Being Fully Alive, also available. Those are both available ebook, paperback on Amazon. You have my YouTube link, and I have a blog, which I gave you last time. I'm sure I must have given you the blog. So huge collection of articles there. about what I do. And so the main thing that was radical when I started working that kind of created a little upheaval in the hypnosis community was I proposed that everybody's in hypnosis all the time. And in my experience at that time, included hypnotherapists, they didn't understand the subtle, all-pervasive hypnotic state that's at the root of our suffering. And that hypnotic state is believing who we think we are. Who we think we are is our most powerful, constant state. And it's a collection of positive and negative judgments about ourself, which is really just a conceptual self. It's not who we really are. And when you know that and you work at that level, all the techniques that people use without knowing that get supercharged. I just heard something garbled, but I didn't hear what.
Yeah, I just turned it off. It was just a sound coming out of like someone's computer.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know what it was either. Right.
So, where was I?
Talking about who we think we are.
Oh yeah, who we think we are. I forgot who I was there for. So, oh yeah. So when you have that understanding and know how to access genuine intelligence that's not trapped in that trance, then the kind of the regular techniques become much more powerful and also much less necessary. One of the main indoctrinations that we get socially in terms of psychology is we have all of these thousands of labels like the DMVS or whatever it is, number 5, 6, 7, 8, gets thicker and thicker and thicker, 10,000 labels that get pasted on people. And people think they're supposed to take them personally. And so they feel stigmatized and they feel, oh, I'm something wrong with me. Those labels are just, in the best case, meant to be shorthand communication to a therapist of the kind of activities that a person is engaged in, not in how the person is broken. But most people think that way. Therapists and clients alike is horrible. When people will come to me with some big problem and say, I've been struggling with this my whole life. I've been to many therapists and I tried hypnotherapy already. They didn't really do much. They weren't able to hypnotize me. I don't think you can hypnotize me. And I just say, too late. Too late. And they kind of go, huh? And I say, your problem is a hypnotic state. If your problem was like a real thing, I could go buy one of them at Walmart. Do they have this chronic depression? Do they have that at Walmart? Yes. It's an activity you're creating, and immediately they cheer up because they're getting the message that they have agency. They're not the victim of something, they're the creator. And not realizing they're the creator, they step into the position of being the victim. Totally unnecessary. When you have, the more and more sense of agency you have, the more you're aware of what you're doing, and the more you can recognize whether it's for good or bad. Like the more aware you become of the agency of punching yourself in the face, at a certain point, you're going to go, well, fuck that. That's a technical term, but I don't think it's in the So that's, in a nutshell, that's the basis of my work. Bringing awareness of agency, bringing awareness you're not who you think you are in a root sense, and also that everything you experience is something you create.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's maybe made some questions arise or offended people. Please let me know if you're offended.
Offended people. So when you say you, I think we talked about this last time, you take people back to finding out who they truly are, wiping away all of the beliefs and stuff that they're holding on to.
Well, the other thing about it is, because we're talking about saying this trance of who you are, language is inherently hypnotic. Language is inherently hypnotic, which means, and there's many aspects to that. One aspect is your habitual subconscious gossip is giving you one hypnotic suggestion after another. You're so stupid. Why do you always do that? You're always stupid. Are you ever going to stop being stupid? You know, you start in the morning fresh like this, and by midday, you're kind of like this. And by the end of the day, you're crawling along on your belly because of the constant negative hypnotic suggestions. So language is inherently hypnotic. So you want to learn to be, I emphasize with my students and clients, to think more skillfully, more precisely. Like Justine talked about wiping it away, which is metaphorical, but you can, you know, just wipe some things away if they don't serve you anymore. But the more important thing to understand is when you realize they're not you, they become transparent. So you don't have to do anything to them. You've stopped taking them personally. For example, there's one favorite story I love is a poor homeless person in India, like an untouchable, never had a home, walking along a road in a very sparsely populated area, and he's getting very thirsty, and he sees a little hut off in the distance, and the custom there is you honor guests as if they're God. So you can go somewhere in expectation of being treated very well. So he went thinking they'll give me some food or tea or whatever. So he goes over to the hut and there's nobody there, and he looks around a little more carefully, and it becomes more and more obvious nobody's been there a long time. So he decides, I've never had my own home. Maybe I can have this home. I'm going to give it a try. The worst that can happen, they come back and tell me to leave. I won't be any worse off. So he moves in. As he's starting to move in, he notices that in the corner, there's a poisonous snake. And his first response is to just take off, but he stops himself. He says, no, I am not giving up this home without a fight. But he's not going to fight it because he might get bit. So what he does is he collects rocks and he builds a rock wall around that corner to contain the poisonous snake. And now he's enjoying his home. One day, another mendicant comes along asking for food or water or whatever. He happily invites him in. As he's preparing the tea, his guest is looking around. What a beautiful hut you have, because he also has never had a hut. And then he notices a little stone wall. What's that stone wall over there? And the guy says, oh, don't go over there. There's a poisonous snake over there. And he says, but he's curious. He says, I'll just be careful. He gets a little closer, and he's tall enough to be able to clearly see over it. And the house owner is getting more and more freaked out. Don't go any closer. And he says, no, it's okay. And then, to his horror of the owner, the guy starts to bend over and reach his hand out. He says, what are you doing? You want to get killed? And the guy picks up the snake and he turns and he says, look, it's just a rotting piece of rope. How long does it take to release your burden once you realize your snake is a piece of rope? All of the problems you think are real problems, those are hypnotic snakes. They're actually just a piece of rope. Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
I'm hypnotized.
Well, let me tell you something else then about the language aspect. Anybody here have ever experienced thinking? Anybody here ever had the experience of thinking?
Yes.
A few of you, okay.
Yeah.
So then this should be a very easy question. What do thoughts refer to?
For me, it's just a repetition of what I already know. I was never able to produce new knowledge thinking. Never happened to me. And I am a great thinker. I like to think of myself as a scientist.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? What do thoughts refer to? Come on. Annette.
Reality. Well,
Reality.
Our own perceived reality.
Great. That's a lot of people say that. But reality is a thought.
Thoughts refer to other thoughts and other
Right.
thoughts and other thoughts and other thoughts and other thoughts until there's
Thoughts refer to other thoughts. Thoughts can only refer to other thoughts. Only. Now, someone might say, well, but look, oh, it doesn't show up. Ha, magic.
Uh-huh.
Imagine coming before
This is
computers
how I
and being able to do
hypnotize
that.
people on
Harry
Zoom.
Potter.
Whoa.
That's
This
Harry
pen is your
Potter
problem.
thing.
Watch your problem disappear. Whoa.
You need to do it with the rope snake.
Maybe this one. Anyway, it's a, if I put, there, it's a pen. Okay, people might say, look, this is a pen. This is real. Pen is a thought. This is not a pen. This is a constructed conglomeration of various substances arranged in such a way based on our knowledge to get the functionality we want to get. You can write with this thing, but it's not a pen. Pen is just a label. It's a thought. This is not a pen to a monkey. This is not a pen to a cat. This is not a pen to an elephant. Pen is a concept. This is nameless and it's temporary. You know, if an elephant comes across this, it won't be a pen for very long. They step on it, no more pen. Where's the pen? See, I can still say pen, but this isn't there anymore. So where's the power? If this was the pen and it got crushed by the elephant, I wouldn't even be able to speak the word anymore.
Mm.
We keep and this is an aspect of hypnosis, is that we get in the habit of mistaking the label for the thing itself. And we think we're relating to the world, but we don't realize we're relating to our ideas about the world. That's all hypnosis.
Yeah, Jack, I have a deep interest in consciousness. And I love what you are talking about, because everything that we know doesn't exist. All that we see and feel and hear doesn't exist. Our senses just gather information from the outside and turn into electrical impulses. And that's all that there is to us, nothing else. But how, if you have any idea, especially having spent time with the monks, what is the easiest way to transcend all this, to go beyond all this illusion of reality that we experience?
Yeah, that's very easy. Everything you said was just words. Don't be distracted by what you're thinking. Reality is self-sustaining, doesn't need support from anything. It's like the sun. You could yell at the sun and curse the sun and get naked in front of the sun. Is not going to waver. It's not going to be shy. It's not going to get angry. It's not. Reality is all pervasive. In terms of the nature of consciousness, one of the most important things to understand about the nature of conscious intelligence is that your experience and appreciation of it is very much determined by where you focus. For example, if you focus on all those ideas, you become unaware that you're in the presence of all pervasive reality. Like when you go if you go for a walk in the woods, you kind of naturally drop your thinking because it becomes very clear. There's nobody, none of the trees, none of the rocks, none of the insects, they don't give a damn what you're thinking. So you kind of realize you can just stop because nobody's listening. And when you stop focusing on your thinking, you start feeling nourished by the environment. The thing is, we're always in that environment. We can always be nourished by reality, but we're habituated to be distracted by our thoughts, by our houses, by our cars, by our roads, by our phone. But none of that happens outside of reality. It's all within reality. But we learn to numb ourselves out to the nourishment of actual reality because we tell ourselves these artificial constructed things are more important. Because it just popped in my mind when I said that. It reminds me of a wonderful old joke of, it might have been in the New York Times first years. They have really good cartoons, right? Illustrated cartoons. I think it's the New York Times. Anyway, it's a little illustration of like a room. It's like you see a wall, it's obviously a room, and there's two doors. And above each door is a sign. And one door, there's a line of people out around the corner. And the other door, nobody's in line. The door that has people out around the corner waiting to get in, the sign above that door says, lectures about God. The other door, where no one is there, is meet God.
The marketing is stronger for the lectures.
We're addicted to thinking. We have no confidence that we could have a high percentage of people I work with just for fun. I usually at some point ask them, imagine that you could suddenly just stop thinking. What do you think your experience would be like? High percentage say, I'd be comatose, I'd be a zombie, I'd fall asleep, which might be true. And just kind of all kind of negative things. But actually, if you drop your thinking, you become brilliantly aware. Because the thinking, it's like your genuine consciousness. If we represent it, our consciousness is like the sun. Constant, unwavering, self-sustaining, never wavers, never goes away. Constantly radiant, huge and brilliant. And yet, if your perspective is from the other, separate from it, you can be convinced it doesn't even exist if there's enough clouds. You know, I have people tell me, I think I have SADS. I have a real hard time when it's not summer, when it's so cloudy and stuff. And I say, look, the sun is still there. Stop telling yourself you have to focus on the clouds. They are flimsy. They change moment by moment. Remember your experience of the sun being there. Visualize the sun in a bright blue sky. You might not see it with your physical eyes, but you're not, oh, I'm just imagining that. Oh, that's just imagination. No, it's the truth. The sun is there always in a bright blue sky. Who says you have to condition yourself to ignore that just because there's some flimsy clouds around? I don't know why you're holding up.
I'm just drawing what you're saying.
Okay, I can't. Oh, I can see.
I see I'm drawing notes of what you're saying, so I can.
Yes, you'll have to send that to all of us.
Yeah.
So do you understand? You have a question? Any question, objection? Consider that one. I'm so impatient. Your intelligence is not a function of your thinking mind. You're more aware of your intelligent, intuitive ability to relate to life when your thinking mind is silent. Not because it has to be silent, but because we're addicted to paying attention to it, such that we lose awareness of the real environment of our brilliant intelligence. You want to hear the good news? Remember I said it was all pervasive? That means you can never be lost. You will never be left out. You will never be abandoned. Everybody's so afraid of being abandoned. That's just childhood hypnotic state. People tell me they feel abandoned or fear of being abandoned. If they speak up, you know, that's a big one, speaking up, because speech is where mind and heart are joined. And we learn as little children, a lot of us, too dangerous to speak what's true for us. So we learn to lie and to believe the lies and forget the truth. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, all pervasive. Little children we get indoctrinated as little children into believing all these crazy things because we have a naive, unformed brain. We don't have a cognitive faculty that can recognize when things are untrue or don't make sense. We just believe anything. Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy, and unfortunately, in the same category, I'm a bad person and I only deserve to be punished. Equal fantasies. The sad thing is that the first 3 or 4 I mentioned, around the age of 6 and 7, parents know how to dismiss those, but they leave the other one in place forever. So only a little child can be abandoned because a little child is in a developmental stage physiologically where they actually do need to be protected and supported. You know, like I'll tell a client, you know, there's this wonderful park with an outlook over the Puget Sound. If I take a 6-month-old baby out there and hide them under the bushes and drive away, I've abandoned that child. It's life-threatening. But if I invite you to go there, let's go for a walk, and we go and drive up, and you go, oh, wow, it really is beautiful. I say, yeah, let's go. And as soon as you get out of the car, I drive off. I've abandoned you. No, I haven't. I've just created an inconvenience in your life. You know, you go call somebody. It's not life-threatening. I might have lost a friend, but so what? I don't believe in having friends who believe in abandonment issues anyway. Because that means you're babysitting all the time. So consider that you are constantly in the embrace of the massive, incomprehensible, life-giving, intelligent, creative power that's creating you, me, everything moment by moment. and there's no other place to go. You can't be thrown out anywhere. So relax, cheer up, start having fun. You've arrived. There's nothing you have to accomplish. You have no burdens. Burdens are all conceptual. You only have burdens because you think you have burdens. You think you have a bunch of snakes all over the place. You got to be careful. There's just a bunch of dirty ropes. No one's objecting to anything yet, or no one has.
I think we need a weekly session with Jack. Like, put your hand up if we want the Jack hour every week.
I do.
I think, Jack, that the problem is there's so much good stuff you're saying that for me, who usually talks before I even think, my brain is processing. So I can't even speak because I'm busy processing what you're saying.
Right.
I remember, I was going to say, I remember
Go
Jack.
ahead and interrupt. You don't feel like I've left you behind. If you've held on to something and when you're ready to speak.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening. No, what I'm saying is that I haven't got any questions because I'm just thinking this is awesome and I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
So I actually do that on purpose in one respect, is that kind of overload of powerful information like that causes your mind to kind of break apart a little, and important things can pop through that you're normally not aware of. So I just noticed somebody wrote something. Helena. So if I was to say to my two youngest that Santa and the Tooth Fairy are not real, could I then also tell them that anything I've said to them that would make them feel less than perfect is also untrue? Would that be believed the same as the fact that the Easter Bunny is now mum? Yeah, it depends on your delivery. You know, remember the way life is a learning curve. Life is a learning curve. We learn according to repetition and vividness. If something's really vivid, we don't need that many repetitions. If something's not vivid, we need more repetitions. This applies to delivering hypnotic suggestions. You should have learned that if you're a hypnotherapist, but it applies to all learning. So if you taught your children vividly and repetitively that they're no good in some way, you can't just walk up to them and say, oh, by the way, that's not true anymore, because it's physiologically, neurologically impressed upon them. So you have to, in an equal way, repetitively and vividly and sincerely, so they feel that you're genuine, that you're not just trying to assuage your guilt, that you genuinely have awakened to a new understanding and you're giving it to them. And you tell them repeatedly and constantly, not obsessively, that they're miraculous, that they're wonderful beings, that they deserve to have full self-respect. And the energy in your communication is calm, spacious, carefree, full of love. That's how they know it's the truth. So you keep communicating it until you see that it's made the thing switch, because you understand that there's that functionality of repetitiveness and vividness, as well as age-appropriate language, so they can understand it, that it makes a change. Like when I work with teenagers, they eat this stuff up. They have a blossoming cognitive faculty, and they're noticing and calling the hypocrisy on their parents and their teachers. That's one reason why they get so, difficult, because they start to be suddenly they're aware of everything you're telling me is a lie. So when they come to see me and I tell them these, they just become ecstatic. And then they say, why weren't they teaching us? They should have been teaching us this stuff from kindergarten, instead of scaring us and making us afraid to make mistakes and shaming us and guilt tripping us. So there's that. Yeah, it's all just programming. any programming can be undone or short-circuited or replaced by better programming. So Helena, does that answer your question? Another way to do it in terms of therapeutic work is everything about therapeutic work is based on skillful means. It's not based on fixed concepts. Skillful means is recognizing what will actually cause a beneficial change in a moment, free of indoctrination that you might have had as a therapist. Like in a given moment, something that you were taught as gospel, you might recognize in a given moment, if I tell them the opposite of that, they'll be liberated from something. You do it. So in this example, Helena, maybe because of the typical investment and strong impression about Santa and the Tooth Fairy, and the kids kind of think, you know, Santa knows everything. Santa's so powerful, he knows everything. Then you could go to your child and say, sweetheart, I feel really sad, but I also feel really happy. I feel really sad because I've been mistaken all these years that I've been speaking to you in nasty ways and making you feel bad about yourself. And all of that was untrue. And the reason I'm happy is because I just got a note from Santa explaining that to me. And he told me I should come and apologize to you. Santa wants you to know you can always love yourself and respect yourself, no matter what any adult says to you. And no matter what any of your friends say. Try that. A good lie. Lily, I'm interested to hear your views on ADD and ADHD, or rather cause and experience that these labels refer to. Okay, yeah. People come to me with these labels. I just ask them to show me how they do it. Because there are no things, there's only activity. Again, if it was a thing, I could go to Walmart and buy my own. It's an activity of mind. These activities of mine are survival skills that the child learned to survive whatever their circumstance is by discovering they could alleviate their pain to some degree, their shame to some degree, their guilt, grief to some degree, by rapidly moving their attention. Developing a skill of being distracted. As a skill, as a survival skill. It's an activity. Again, I help people appreciate that. Instead of being stigmatized like the psychiatrist, the very stern psychiatrist who doesn't look me in the eye, just writes me prescriptions and says, you have ADHD. I have people tell me that sort of thing. Never look me in the eye, talk to me for 10 minutes, write me a script, charge me $400. So I explained to them, this is something you're doing. If I wanted to have the experience you're having, I need to do what you do. So you be my coach. You teach me what to do with my mind, moment by moment. So I end up having this experience that you tell me is labeled ADD or ADHD. That forces them to bring it into consciousness. And you bring what you're doing into consciousness, you can change it. So I have no fixed idea about what those things are, because each person is different in terms of the stimuli that they are trying to survive that cause them to do it in their own particular style. Makes it very easy for me. I'm lazy and stupid. I don't have to know a lot of stuff. I just have to remember to ask questions and beg them to educate me. Robin, oh, Robin's a hypnotherapist. I don't know if you all are. I guess I didn't ever ask. I'm very keen on this as my granddaughter is currently being diagnosed. Yeah, don't do it. But you didn't finish the sentence. You don't want to disclose any more of that than that. That's fine. But whatever she's doing, talk to her about it with love and respect, communicating that there's nothing wrong with her just because she's experiencing these things or doing these things.
Yeah,
And then engage her with children. You realize everything is imaginary. Everything. Ideas of who you are, that's all imaginary. It's all imaginary.
Hmm.
So, you know, like people, I'll say to people, like I'm going to say to you, ask her to imagine doing it differently. We say that to adults and they say, well, yeah, I could, but that's just be imaginary. And I say, look, your problem is imaginary. So you can't dismiss beneficial imagination and yet give prestige to harmful imagination. They're both equal, they're imaginary. So play with me. 8-year-olds, children are really into playing. So whatever she has, I might ask her, imagine what it would be like if it was in reverse. Or imagine what it would be like if it was out there in the tree instead of in here. All kind of, just infinite possibilities. The key is to be founded in rapport. They feel safe and respected by you, so that they'll be willing to play with you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. It's Robin here. Yeah, it's upsetting my daughter because, you know, clearly my granddaughter has some learning difficulties, which she's had hearing issues, she's had sight issues. And so she's behind, but the system wants to slot her into ADHD. She is not hyperactive in the slightest.
No.
She's just distracted, and she's very creative, and she's so good at the sciences side. It's just her reading, but the school system here is just wanting to compartmentalize her. And yeah, it's you know, she's had some things to deal with in her younger life that I think have affected her ability to connect with other people. But kids are mean, and they are bullying her for being behind in class and being labeled with this
Yeah, that's
slowness.
terrible. I hope you can, I hope you have the resources, maybe find like a more enlightened alternative school, or find her a really good therapist who will help her antidote all of those kinds of messages that she's not just getting from adults, but from children. Children, they don't know any better. They have no filters. They're horribly mean to each other. They're just, you know. So don't buy into it, and tell every day, reinforce to her there's nothing wrong with her. Help her develop a healthy worldview. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. There might be something wrong with what you've been taught. Like, you've been taught what to think, how to do things. Those things were taught to you by other people. They might not have been very good teachers. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. That just means you want to examine what you've been taught and maybe figure out if there's something better that you could discover yourself, or by getting help from someone else who might be better at teaching it. And then you tell them also that anyone who talks to you has to talk to you with respect. Anyone who's disrespectful, you can ignore. Because not being able to do something well doesn't mean you lose your right to be treated kindly and respectfully. These basic, so basic, tragically basic handful of things that are overlooked is the reason why the world is full of war. So the main thing, don't worry about her being successful and getting a degree. Make sure you help her be strongly rooted in her self-respect, self-encouragement, self-appreciation, that she's a miraculous being.
Perfect, thank you. I do that a lot, but I think I might hypnotize her now.
I worked with kids as young as 3.
Robin. I think Robin could be lucky as well to find people in the system who understand very clearly that, especially in New Zealand, we give labels to secure funding. So if your child is slow to learn and they give her a label, it's more likely that they will get funding to get an extra teacher aide to help her. Many professionals of education and mental health professionals are aware of that. So whenever someone has a label, we tend to tell them this is only for funding.
I was going to say with you, Marissa, too, I'm the same, like my daughter, they put her into a label of having a sensory disorder, which means I can homeschool her. But when I said to Melody, I said to her, you don't have a sensory disorder. You can hear things clearer than everybody else. You can pick up things clearer than everybody else, which means that everybody else has a disorder. And you actually, your body is functioning better because you can hear things that other people can't. You would assume that your ears are functioning better than other people. So, but she had to get that. She had to get that so that I could homeschool her, because in New Zealand you're not allowed to just take a kid out of school. You have to have. So when she got told that having a sensory disorder, I was like, it's not actually disorder. Everybody else is disordered. you've got amazing ears. It's just everybody is unique and has different abilities, and that's what I reckon.
Yeah, the educational system wants to level out everyone. That's their problem.
But you can't get funding unless you've got that little piece of little name, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So there's ways you can also, in an age-appropriate way, explain that setup to the kids so that they get a sense that the context they're in is not the truth of things. It's just adults struggling. And by the way, adults do struggle. They're not gods. They don't know everything. And so that they get a sense, that helps them have a sense of self-respect, like that I'm not supposed to just go in here and submit to the system. But you can collaborate with the system. Okay, Lillian, is there anything other than meditation that you suggest for someone to prevent others' energies affecting you? Okay. We're aware of the world as kind of as Marissa was briefly explaining, we're aware of the world because of how our sense organs process data, perceptual data. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, etc. We all know, it's pretty common scientific knowledge, like that we don't see actual reality. We see a narrow band of visual light. And there's other animals and birds and insects that see a much broader range of visual light. So their visual experience is much different than ours. We're not experiencing the truth. We're experiencing what our sense organs can reproduce from the data. Same with hearing. You know, dogs can hear dog whistles that we can, etc. And snakes can like taste the environment with their tongue, just sticking, they can tell all kinds of stuff. So our senses are not giving us the solid, real reality. We're experiencing what our mind creates through the various sense organs from the data that's available. So you want to break the common hypnotic notion that the outer world is affecting you. We're not affected by the outer world. We're affected by what we think about the outer world. And the most significant aspect of that, in a nutshell, is that we take things personally. You know, we experience something from the outer world through our senses, and we tell ourselves what that means, but we think we're not aware we're telling ourselves that what it means. We think the meaning is coming right through our senses. And the reason that is because visual and emotional data is much more vivid than thought. Our subconscious mind gravitates towards what's the most vivid. So it gets absorbed in what's being seen or heard and unaware that we're thinking something to give it meaning. So when someone says, you hurt my feelings, that's not the truth. They heard you say what you say and they saw you do what you did. That they took in. Perceptual data has no meaning until you give it meaning. So they heard what you said and saw what you did, but it's what they told themselves it meant that hurt their feelings. And what they told themselves it meant was some form of taking it personally, like what that person is saying and doing is stabbing me in the heart. And that hurts. That's extra. Always. So many people get indoctrinated in interpreting their experience as they're being invaded by the outside. That's just a hypnotic suggestion. Energetically, physiologically, energetically, we can be aware of disturbance happening, but we don't have to take it personally. It's just happening. It's not happening to me. It's happening. How can I deal with this? But not as a victim. This is happening. You know, like if you walk into let's say you're driving your car and you're going on a long trip and in the morning it's cold, you turn on your heater and you're driving along and you're spaced out listening to the radio and everything else. And it takes a while before you realize that you're kind of sweating because it's like blasting heat now. You don't go, oh my God, I'm so offended. I must be a worthless person. No, you just turn the heat down. Change the effect of the energy. In general, people who have this sense of being affected by others' energies are, you use the word boundaries, is that they've been taught they're not allowed to have boundaries. Usually indirectly. It happens 1,000 times a day. If you're an unharmed little child and you just spontaneously do something and an adult interrupts you, not because they have an intention to harm you, but just because they don't appreciate what a child's mind and experience are like. You get interrupted, that's a violation of your boundaries. No one has to teach you anything. If you get your boundaries violated innocently, 100, 200 times a day, every day of the week, every month of the year, you're going to develop an unconscious attitude that you have no boundaries. Conversely, if you have parents like hippie parents that just want you to be free and they don't set any boundaries, you become a teenager, you act out furiously, not because you're a bad kid, but because you're begging for someone to help you find the boundaries. So for little kids, I'd talk to them, again, same thing with little kids as adults, just age-appropriate language, make sure you're emanating a sense of peace, no big deal, just genuine interest and respect, asking them what their experience is like, and then having them imagine antidotes. Like just the other day, I was talking to an 8-year-old who was online on Zoom call with her mom, and there's this aggressive other girl in her class, always kind of insulting people. And I said, just remember that 2 days ago, you know, you told your mom about when she was doing that. Just remember, can you remember that now? And she says, yeah. And I said, okay, now get ready to remember it again. It's like a movie and you're about to play it again. Only this time when she starts speaking those nasty ways, you see donkey ears growing and you see her nose growing into a donkey nose. Now it's funny. No more problem. And I say, now you can do that forever. Anytime you think about her, anytime you see her, she starts behaving in a nasty way, just see those, you know. You can add whatever, maybe see a tail coming out, or you're free to do whatever. To remind you, you don't have to take it personally. Meditation is a loaded word, Lily. I really, you know, so many people have so many ideas about meditation. Often I'll just tell them there's no such thing as meditation. Because then they have to let go of it. It's like, what? You have to let it all go. Now there's an open space. That's meditation. We're running out of time. We can go for a little bit longer, but it's, you know, I'm old, so sometimes I forget.
We do the same time next week and the week after.
So,
The week after.
so what I'm putting up, I'm clicking here.
These guys come on.
You see that link? On Wednesday, next Wednesday, June 1st, I'm starting a webinar that you're welcome to join.
Thank you.
In terms of regularly working with people, I do work regularly with groups, but it's not for free. So let me know how many people still want to work, if they're able to, if there's going to be a fee.
Yeah, I can organise that for
Okay.
people that are interested in doing some.
Yeah. So, but check out this webinar. You can very quickly get an experience of what it could be like. And it explains what it's about, and the registration, all the information is at that link.
And of
So
course,
let's-
for people that are listening, Jack has training available as well, hypnotherapy, and it goes
Oh,
into
yeah.
some really interesting stuff. I just pulled it up right now on my page to link it. And when you look at his diploma and things, it's got a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, there's
And
lots of training options. There's lots of products.
it's very different
to
different to what you normally see. And diplomas as well, what I've noticed.
Yeah.
So I'll link that up in the
You're going to let everybody
Yeah,
know?
can I just check what time it is? I've just had a quick look at the website and couldn't see the time. What
Oh.
time is it? Your time of
It's
the
3 o'clock my time. 3
the
o'clock
webinar.
my time.
sorry?
Oh, the webinars every
Yeah.
4 Wednesdays at noon.
Yeah, at noon for you. So if it's 2 o'clock there now, what is it? 3 o'clock for you?
so
now?
it'll be
O'clock.
7 o'clock New Zealand,
Okay.
7 a.m.
But listen, it's such a wonderful opportunity because each class is recorded and available for 7 days to the next class. So you can watch it as much as you want. And if you're in a time zone where a lot of people from all over the world take this, some of them never make the live class because of the time zone difference, but they take it because they get to watch the video 100
7
times.
o'clock. 7 o'clock's good for us, for me though. So that's awesome.
So no, scheduling is not a problem.
So that was under life trainings.
That's all explained in the link too.
Awesome, and I have linked the website onto the chats, and I'll put that up when I add the video as well.
Okay.
But Jack, I can talk to you too, because we might be able to get enough people in New Zealand and Aussie to make it worthwhile to do this time zone as well.
Okay. So I am sending, that's my blog archive. It's all free. Hundreds of articles. Oh, I might as well.
I was going to say, it's so refreshing listening to you, Jack, because you know, people go, a lot of the time it's about, you know, what to do with this, what to do with that. And with you, it's about taking that all away and just going right back to the start and what is all that anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's so
Yeah.
it's so
It's
like
like,
mind.
there's so many snakes. How can I ever figure out what to do about all those snakes? Well, guess what? They're just pieces of rope.
Just get rid of the rope. Yeah. It's a great start to the day.
Thank
Any
you.
last question before we go? Anybody who's afraid to ask something, ask it.
I did see you also have a relationship one on here as well.
Oh yeah, I do. I have a course on relationships too.
And the book that you and, did you say you and your wife wrote the happy book?
We wrote The Outrageous Guide to Being Fully Alive. That link should take you to them.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Enlightening.
It's my pleasure. I wish I could come on the other side of the world. It's like
Can
going
now.
out of-
You can come.
We're open. You can.
Yeah, come on in.
It's just a cruisy 12-hour flight.
I was going to say, if you haven't done New Zealand, you've got to do New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos to create a transporter, so I don't have to do that.
Oh,
You have free accommodations throughout the country if you come. So
Okay. Okay, now I
Definitely.
just have to talk my wife into it.
Lovely.
so
Awesome.
amazing. Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for today and joining us.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
thank you, Jack.
Bye.
Really good to meet you,
Bye-bye.
And thank you, Justine, for doing it.
You're welcome.
Justine. Yeah.
Alrighties, guys. I will catch you
Invite
later.
all your friends to the webinar. You don't have to be a therapist to take the webinar. Anybody can take it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a great day
You
and
too.
evening. And I'll catch you all later. Thank you so much, Jack.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.